Hello everyone and welcome to this video. In this tutorial we pick up from where we left off on our discussion of Python list. If you haven't watched that first part of this video, you need to do that. It's on this channel, and then get the basic understanding of what's happening about Python list. Now, but if you feel like you have enough knowledge about list, then you can feel free to go ahead and let's work with this one. Essentially, I have the list again from that part, which is footballers. I have it defined here again. So straight off, we are working with we want to see how we can work with each element or each item in the list. In that video or earlier in our discussion, we used the square bracket operator to access each element in the list. Well, it has its own advantages as well as full of disadvantages. We want a shorter and a quicker way of working through each of the elements in the list. In that case, we can use for loop. So for loop, again, I have a video about looping in Python, so it's also there. Check for that video and get the full understanding of what is looping in Python, so before you can understand how looping actually works. So I want to access all the elements in this list called footballers. What I need to do is to use for loop. Okay, I say for, let me say, footballer, or let's say baller, into short it called for baller, for baller in footballers. Now we want to print sorry, we need a colon here, then print we print ballers. Now this code is simply going through this list, and then temporarily storing each item in this variable called baller, and then printing it with this line. Look at the column here. At the end of every for loop, you have to put this column here. This is the syntax, otherwise Python can throw error, or you may be getting unnecessary results against what you actually want. So let me run the code. Yes, exactly. We have Rashford, Cristiano Ronaldo, Bruno, and Pogba. You see, okay, normally proper name has to begin with uppercase. You see, in that case, we can simply use the .title method at the end of this variable title, and then I run the code again. Yes, Bruno and Paul has been updated to capital letter. Now this is how we access each element in the list, as against the other one that we did when we used the square bracket operator. This is the easier way and the faster way, and this to allow us to work with each element and also write a message to each of the elements according to how we want it. For example, again, we can, let's say we want to ask each of these players what they feel like after winning a match for some time. Maybe at the post-match interview, we want to ask them how do they feel. So we can simply copy the code again, and then just this time around we append a message to it. Let me simply copy this one and paste it in this separate cell here. Now this time around, before we print it, we want to use the format string to print additional message with it. In that case, I'll do like this, and then we said using the curly braces as well, because we are printing a string alongside a defined variable. Okay, this is how we use the format. Now I want to ask each of them, how do you feel after winning the match? How do you feel after the match? Okay, after this match. Alright, now I run this code. Okay, error. Let's see what's happening. A syntax error, field string expecting. Okay, yes, with the open coil braces here, you need corresponding closing coil braces, which is supposed to be here. Alright, okay. No, what is that? Yeah, now this should work now. Yes, yes, Rashford, how do you feel after this match? See Ronaldo, how do you feel after this match? Bruno, how do you feel after this match? Each of them getting the same message. Of course, it would be nice if we put a comma here and around that again. Yes, it changes. Now each of them is getting the same message. Again, you can actually specify, or you can actually write a specific message to each of the players. And this I'm not going to do it here because I have it discussed very well explained in a separate video here tagged looping in Python. Look for that video and watch it, and where I explain it how you can actually write separate message. Like you can say Bruno, being the captain of your team, how do you feel after winning this match? Then see Ronaldo, for example, he scored a hat-trick today. I hope you how do you feel after not scoring a goal for a long time? And then for Pogba, there's a rumor going about you that you want to leave the club. How do you feel about it? What can we say about that? Separate messages like that, and you can do it. It's very simple to do. I'll just give you a hint that you need to use another keyword called if, and then go ahead and do that. It's very simple. Watch that video and then you can easily do justice to that. Now moving on, let's see how we can make list with numerical lists. How we can make numerical lists. All we have done thus far is strings, a list of strings. Now we want to see how we can get list of numbers. For that, we can use for range. It's a built-in Python function, which again I discussed about it very well in that video that says looping. Look for that video in my channel and you see it. You will enjoy every bit of it. Now to do that, let me say we have we are giving it a variable, a list that is a variable that is storing the numerical list for us. I'll name it num list, which is represent number list. All right, num list should now contain range of numbers ranging from, let's say 7, ranging from 0 to 7, and then we should print num list. Now you see, now this name we have to, yes, now print num list, print yes, num, okay, num list. If I run that, you see it says 0 to 7. This is exactly what is happening. By default, the range start at 0 and it ends at a number less than this specified number, which is going to be 6. So for us to get a good understanding of this, we can simply say it, now if you want to put this in a list, we can simply use the list built-in function list. I have a video on that as well, how to convert from one variable type to the other. I have it on my video, a separate video on that, Python variables and values. Watch that video and you get the gist of what is going on. List range this. Yes, what this line is saying is we are, after this range starting from 0 up to 7, which is the range that it is this like this, it will be converted to list. Now if I run this code now, you will see the changes. Yes, list, as you know, is defined with square brackets. Now that is why Python has print these elements, all these items out for us, because of this function called range. This is the one that converts it to this this value, this list item. But if you want to really see how this range really work, again I have video on that, so I will not talk much about that. Just watch that video and get the understanding of it. So this is how we work with Python list. And more on that, let's go on to discuss more about list with some practical examples. Let's say we want a list that contains a cube or cubes of numbers ranging from 1 to 10, and you know, cubes, we write cube, that is a number multiplied in 3 places, multiplied by itself in 3 places, like as we have squares and that multiply, raising a number to 2. When you cube means when you raise a number to 3, and in Python we write it like this. For example, when we have 4 and want to multiply by 3, we use 2 asterisks then 3. this means 4 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 4. 4 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 4. That is 4 in 3 places. The multiplication sign asterisk is used as multiplication sign in Python. That is, if I would simply want to multiply just this 4 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 3, which is 12, I'll simply use 1. So let me run that. You see, just 1 star means multiplication. That 1 asterisk means multiplication in Python. But by the time you make it to double asterisk, in this case it means raising the number to 3. So if I run that, you see it's 64. That is 4 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 4, 4 in 3 places. So I want such cube of numbers ranging from 1 to 10 or 1 to 11, just as the case may be. What I will do is, first, I have different way of doing that. First, let's go with this. Let me create a variable that will hold such value for us after it has been done. And that, in that case, I will define an empty list, like I should know how to define empty list already. So I'll now say for range, I'll use for loop again, for n in range of numbers ranging from, like I said, let me say by 1 and then up to 11. Yes, you know, it will just start from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 to stop at 10 and not including this 11. You can watch that video on range and you get the gist. Now what I'll do is, and I'll use the colon as usual, then the cube inside the for loop block of code, I'll say create a loop and call, and then multiply the number by 3. Multiply the number by 3, save the answer in this cube, then give me go to our cubes here and fill it using the append method. Cubes dot append cube. Yes, you know how to work from our earlier discussion about Python list. You don't have any issue concerning this append function and concerning the append method and concerning these cubes. So when I run that, let's run that and see syntax invalid syntax. Let's see. Okay, cubes is invalid syntax. Okay, you be this I say we now say cubes dot append cube. What is the error here? Oh, of course, defining a variable, of course, it requires a equal sign. So I need to put equal sign here and I run that code again. All right, everything's that means it's a valid code. Now what I need to do is to print the value of our cubes out, and then I'll get out of the loop and then type print and give us the value of our cubes. Now I run the code. You see, it has the D is already done for us, 1 to 10, which is 1000. So you can go ahead and do your own square. You can go ahead and do raised to the power of 4, 5, and so, and you can do squares and do much more. Just play around with this and you see the beauty of it. And again, this very line to this line, this about 4 lines, we can short it to 2 lines or 1 line even. But and then for these 4 lines can be shortened to just 2 lines, and we achieve the same thing. So what we need to do is that in that case we'll simply erase this line, and okay, I'll simply delete this one here and then just copy this and paste it here, which will still work. If I just paste it here, you see that it will still be the same thing. That means it has shortened our work. Let me run that. Yeah, the same thing. Now we have reduced the essence of this is reduce our code and make it more, anyway, if you consider it shorter and good. But in most cases you would like to write it out in full or anyhow, but feel free, whatever you feel comfortable with, you can do. I can go ahead and do that. And again, moving on, let's talk about list comprehension. But however, actually I will have a separate video on this list comprehension, but I simply want to mention it here because it's very good. It's a good skill to have, but as a beginner you don't need to worry too much about it, but it's definitely a very powerful skill to have when you understand how to work with list comprehension. List comprehension is simply a way we create a new list based on the values of an existing list. It makes it shorter and simpler for us. And then the syntax simply includes the following. For example, I'll be using this list that we have here as an example. Let's see how we can do that with list comprehension. In this case, all this line can be shortened to a single line of code, and I'll say coibs equals in a square bracket, which is how we define list, of course, and I'll say n multiplied by 3, but then for n in range 1 to as usual 1 to 11, right? 1 to 11, and then let me run that. It work. Yeah, okay, it doesn't work. NS is not defined. Yes, that is good. Of course, you see that I'm using X here instead of the multiplication sign that I intend to do. I run that code down. Beautiful. It's a valid code. Now I'll simply print our cubes and see that we'll get the same output like we get earlier with this line of code here. You see how shorter it is, just 2 lines from the earlier 5 or 4 lines that we have here. So I will explain this list comprehension very well in a separate video about list comprehension, because I want you to have a very solid understanding about it. So moving on, let's see how we can slice through a list. Slicing is a way where we work with subset of a list. Working with our earlier defined list of footballers, we want to demonstrate how we can slice through, how we use the slicing method or the square bracket operator again to actually slice through or work through a subset of list in our code when we have when such occasion presents itself. Now we have this list and we want to work with maybe only the first 2 or the first 3 or all of the items in the list. In that case, if we want to work with just the first 2 items in the list, we can simply provide the name of our list followed by a square bracket operator, and then values like the indices of the items that we are looking for from the list. So let's do that. Footballers, and then followed by square bracket operator. Square bracket operator is very powerful. You need to know how to work with it, because you can also use this to work with your dictionary items in your dictionary as well. So I want to work with just these first 2 elements. I can simply say 0 colon ratio 3. Again, if you, like I said, in range, or I'll simply use the way Python counts here, which Python, as we said, is a 0-based index programming language, as with most other programming languages as well. Now it starts with, normally by default Python starts with 0, and then it ends start with 0. Now, but in this case, now what we are saying here is Python, from our list, Python should go in there and give us the first element up, and then the second and third element. However, the 3 we are indicating here as an index here will be up to but not included, just as we just seen how to use range. It will just be stop at 2. So we are expecting this one's number 0, 1, 2. So we are expecting Rashford, C. Ronaldo, and Bruno to be out, to come out to be our outputs. Now I'll just simply say print footballers. Let's see, print. Okay, I'll put that in the print. Let's simply put here in this print here and see the output. If it doesn't work, then we know it doesn't work, and we'll then find an alternative for that. Now I run that code. Of course, Rashford, C. Ronaldo, and Bruno are out. Now if I remove this 0 and I run the code again, you see the same output, because by default it start counting as 0. So if we like, we can omit it. And again, what if I omit this the stop index and I run the code? You see, give us everything in the list that start from 0, end at the last item. So this is how we work with it. If you can decide to omit the first, you can decide to omit the last. If you omit the last, it default to the everything in the item, and if you omit the first, it default to start from the beginning. So let me start from element at number 2. Remember, this is 0, this one, and these two. We are expecting to see Bruno and Paul only. Let's run that. Yes, Bruno and Pogba. This is how it works. So again, there is another way there's one more last thing I want to show you about how to slice through. You can use negative index. Negative index will indicate that it will go to the end of the item. For example, if I say -1, let me say negative, okay, -1, it will go to this Pogba and then start counting from there. And here we have omitted everything. That means it will print everything from Pogba upward. Of course, we are expecting only one value here, which is Pogba. This is it. So if you want to include others, like for example, if I say it should start from Ronaldo, but counting from the end back, and then counting from the end as a backward, it will this position is -1. This Bruno is at -2 and Ronaldo is at -3. So if I change this one to 3, you will see that the output will be from Ronaldo, Bruno and Pogba. You should start from here and go upward. So I run that code. You see it's Ronaldo, Bruno. So this is how we work with slicing. Now moving on to looping through a slice of a list or a subset of a list. And this is actually similar to how we loop through the original list. It's just that the difference is that at the end of the list, we just indicate the indices of the list, or indices of the item of the list that we want to work with. That is the subset of the list that we want to work with. Again, let's using this our variable, still using this same list. We want to see how we can work with it using for a subset of it using our for loop again. For let's say for now we want to say for footballers in footballers. Now this time around we are working with a certain list. Earlier we will simply do a column like this and then go on to let me separate. Yeah, earlier on we just, in the original way of looping through this original list would have been just like this, but in this case now, before this column, we want to use square bracket operator to indicate the subset or the indices of the items we want to work with as a subset in the original list of these footballers. So we simply use our square bracket operator again, and then now I want to work with the first 3 items here, the first 3 players here. So I'll simply I'll simply type my colon. Now since I'll be omitting this first index here, which will default to 0, and then I'll simply say 4 or 3 because I'm working with the first 3. And remember, this is 0, 1, 2. So, and this is 3, but these 3 that I indicated there, therefore it's going to stop at this place. So now the column now comes here, and I say print ballers, ballers. Run that code. You see Rashford, Ronaldo, Bruno. Now you can simply use the dot title method to make this uppercase. Use that as your practice. You see, this is how we can loop through subset of our list. You can go ahead and work with it. You can check other websites or other channels to see how this work, and it's a beautiful thing if you also use W3 School website. I love that site actually. I used to go there for some references as well. That is cool. Now when we want to copy a list, we have our original list as it is here, and want to make a copy of it. That is, we still have this original and still have a copy of this one. To do that, let me demonstrate that using the following way of doing it. Let's say this time around I want to use team A and team B. For example, I'll be taking this as team A and then another one as team B. Let's now say team A, that's a variable, okay. Let's also say team A, and we now set it to the value of these footballers. I want it to just still be these footballers, this original one that we have in here. I'll just simply copy and paste here, footballers. Now what I've done is that this same list is now the same as this. This is not a copy yet, it's just simply the same thing, because whatever is here is here, and anything I do to this one, or this one will be affecting this one. So if I edit this one, it also affect this one. Now what I'll do here now is, now to make a copy of this, now I'll simply say team B should now be equal to team A using again a square bracket operator, and I'll say it should be equal to colon. Yes, let me just simply do like this. Now you know what this means already. All the items in this team A should be the same thing as team B, and all the same item in this team which is also the same thing as saying all the items as in the footballers should be equally the same in this team B. So let me run that. For us to see how it works, let me print both team A and team B out and see the output. Print team A, and then print team B. Okay. Print. Okay, let me spell that correctly. Print team B. I run that. You see, same item. Now if I let me modify this to see how it affects only this team B, and team A will not be affected. Let me do that. Let me say we want to add another player to our team B by using the append method. Now let's see, team A dot append. Let me do that again. Team B rather. Team B dot append. Team B dot append. Let's append a player. For example, let's append just Joan Mata. Let's say Mata, and then again let me print team B this time around again to see the different. Print team B. Now I run that. Good. You see, this has worked. This append has worked. And if I print, and again you can see this line that is still running as print team B. Let me uncomment that to make it understandable for you. I run that code again. Okay, now this is the original team, which is team A, that has been displayed here from this action, this print statement here. Print out this line, right? I mean just this first line. Then this print statement here now give us this output, and it's because we have added another player, we now have it to be reflecting here, and it does not affect. This shows that this output here, the first one here, shows that it does not affect the original list. So that is just it. This is how to copy a list. When you want to copy a list, to work with the photocopy in quotes, that is a subset or the copy of the original list, so that whatever you do to the copy will not affect the original list. That means when you do a mistake with the copy, you can quickly go to the original list and make reference or adjust your mistake. That is it with list for now, and the next one I will be discussing very well about list comprehension. Please give us a thumbs up, share our videos, and thank you for staying with us to this. Take care and God bless you.